Hello, everybody. Welcome to StraightA. Dawson here.
True. Pizza's good.
Right then.
Ben.
And we are back. Finally, the crew is back. The original four. The first time in a few weeks we haven't had us all together. We are rocking and rolling this week with the NFL Week 7 power rankings. So we're going to NFL Week 7. 6 teams on a bye. Who knows what could happen. You know, a lot of interesting matchups next week. And we're going to see what the reaction to the power rankings are. Because she has been updated with my power rankings. But Ben and Trayton are kind of out of the loop of where my teams are kind of placed at right now. So this will be kind of curious of the input from them. Otherwise, you already get rock and rolling? Somebody's echoing. I don't know which one of you it is. I'm going to guess it's Shu. Does that work? Oh, yep, it's Shu. It is definitely Shu. Oh, well. While he gets that fixed.
It definitely should not be me.
Okay. I'm going to talk now. Trayton also talk to me real quick.
Hi, Dawson. How are you doing today?
Doing well. It is definitely Shu because there's no echo. But then when I unmute him, he's echoing. So.
God damn it!
Sorry, Shu. It is you again. every problem we ever have is involving you, Shu. But that's why we love you. But while you're rocking and rolling that, we're going to go ahead and reveal so we can get to digesting these power rankings. Well, you might just have to switch out your input, Shu. I'll be honest with you. At this point, we're going. We're going. Sorry. Here's the power rankings for Week 7. We'll let it digest, let it simmer. As you see, there's a lot of not changes on the left side of the board. From last week, at least. It's kind of letting simmer. So some initial thoughts. And this is just going to be about placement, too, since Ben and Trayton are a little bit out of the loop when it comes to ordering.
Okay, hopefully I fixed it.
You did. You're the best.
I'm seeing you in my ear, and I'm talking to you through the computer, which is stupid.
Oh. Well, that works.
Yeah.
So, all right. What are some thoughts here?
Are we starting on the right side, or are we just going all at it?
Just some initial thoughts about something you notice, and then we'll go column by column.
The Chiefs not going down.
Not going down?
I noticed a sub 500 team in the top 10.
That is Chargers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I noticed the Patriots still in that third column.
Because they are
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
The Patriots are still our top 25 team.
Are you high?
No. They should definitely be at like the 30 spot at this point.
Oh, okay. I thought you said they were a top 25 team. Okay, I was. Yeah, no. I
According
completely
to
agree.
Dawson, they are.
Apparently,
They should be down
Allegedly.
at least 29, if not 30.
Again, I make gradual changes. All right. So we'll
You
go.
made gradual changes last week too. It wasn't enough.
They dropped -4 last week, actually. So after the Saints loss, that was a -4 loss right there.
Oh, great. So they got blown out 2 times hugely, and they've dropped 6.
No, they didn't get blown out this week. They actually had a very close matchup with the Raiders.
What they drop the week before that?
-1 because every other team around them sucked.
So they got blown out twice. And then they held it together against the Raiders team, who is still at 24 somehow when they've beaten the Patriots.
We talked about this, that the Jets, the Giants, the Packers, the Steelers, all those teams, the Browns even that week, I think all sucked. The Vikings sucked at that point. That was all the teams around them. How am I supposed to drop them below other teams when they suck? Okay, I can't drop the Patriots below when other teams fucking suck.
That you can drop them below the Raiders.
The Raiders we're down in the fourth column because they suck.
They're still below the Patriots.
Yes, you're right. You are right.
And the Saints. How are the Saints still in the fourth column?
Because the Saints just fucking lost to the Texans.
But they whooped the Patriots' ass.
Doesn't matter. The
Texans
Cardinals
aren't
beat the
that bad.
Cowboys.
The Texans aren't that bad.
Okay. You know what? We'll start
I
it.
think that Texans and the Patriots should be swapped.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know why the Texans are still this low after they consistently are winning.
They're consistently sucking.
Biased.
They're consistently sucking still.
Dawson is biased.
They're not
sucking. They are winning.
Sorry, I shouldn't say they're consistently sucking. They are not consistent in their play at all. CJ Stroud is about the only consistent-ish thing on there. Plus, CJ Stroud brought them.
Well, one thing's consistent, and that one thing that's consistent is all that matters, and that's that they're consistently winning.
They're 3-3. Is that
They're
consistently
what?
winning?
They're 4-2 right now.
They're 3-3.
They're 3-3.
Patriots are 1-5.
Yes, they're 1-5, but they also started like 14, 15 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
They should be.
They shouldn't be. This is not okay. This is.
All right, we're already getting heated because I'm passionate about this. We're starting with the fourth column and going up from there. The Bears and Broncos are on a whole tier of their own. They swap them back and forth depending on the week. Broncos looked a little bit better than the Bears in my opinion this week, so they're 31-32. Take that as you will. The next section is the 27 through 30 tier. The teams that I think are still young and building, or just kind of suck overall, but kind of have some potential. Cardinals are the bottom of that 100%. They've looked bad over the last couple of weeks, and at this point are kind of almost in that Broncos-Bears tier again, but they're still a tier above it, in my opinion. The Colts, without Anthony Richardson, have just not looked as great. Gardner Minshew had a slight hope for the team, but ultimately they're kind of looking like they're going to struggle more than anything. Carolina Panthers are at 28, even though they're 0-6, I'll be honest with you, just because they consistently at least put up points, and the only, I don't know what to say. I think they would beat any team below them. 100%. They haven't played any team below them. So that's why I'm putting them there. Plus, with only most of those teams below them having one win, I'm okay with having the Panthers above them. Though they are pretty much in that category of, like, if they have one really bad game, they're pretty much down there with 30. So I'm not too passionate about that one. The Texans. As much as I love the Texans, Ben, you got me on the hype train of the Texans, 100%. They're not being consistent. They're a 3-3 record, 100%, granted, but they're almost losing these games, but they shouldn't lose. The Saints game was not a game they should have been like that close for them. This is a prove it game, and they didn't look very good against it. In fact, they made the Saints look really good on offense. The only reason they really got squeaked by was because the defense of the Saints really sucked that game, which is why they're at -2 for the Saints. The Texans otherwise have just not won games. They won a couple games I feel like they should have, while they also have won games that we honestly could say that they should have won. And let me pull up their schedule actually too. I just don't believe in them enough where I don't think they're going to be a consistently good team throughout the season if they don't get their stuff together. They're almost into that next tier with the Titans and all the other teams. But when they're winning by slow margins against bad teams, I can't put them up very, very far above. When they're competing against teams that are like 18 through 24 or something like that, I can't really boost them up, especially if they're not winning the games that they do play teams that are higher rated. I just can't. It's just not in my blood. Titans, they lost to the Ravens. Whatever, they didn't make me passionate either way. And Saints losing to the Texans, I think, is appropriate for a -2 because Saints, say what you will about their offense is good, but it's inconsistent as well. One week Derek Carr's throwing 300 yards, next week he's throwing 150. And their defense has sucked. Their secondary is the only thing kind of keeping them alive, but even then, if you look at their stats, for the secondary-wise, it's not that good. So, I mean, you can only carry them so far. And that's my thoughts on the fourth column there, if y'all want to make any comments there.
By your logic, you like consistently trash over inconsistent, period.
Correct.
No.
Consistently trash. Wait, you're saying I appreciate consistently trash over inconsistent period?
Yes, you do.
Use a team for this example.
The Patriots!
Every team around the Patriots suck.
Consistently trash!
Every team around the Patriots kind of suck besides the Rams. The Rams have been trending upward. The 2021 spot is a gap in between that one.
Yeah, but
there's not a gap between Washington and the Giants. Giants are horrible.
The Giants were also number 8 at the start of the season. There was a lot of high expectations for them. I'm not dropping. The Giants have actually done decently well this last couple of games. They haven't been amazing, but they've not been trash level.
Okay,
anything
by your logic,
proven about them is that last year was a fluke because they played a last place schedule.
By your logic, any team above another team should beat them, correct?
No. That is the exact opposite of my logic.
I hear that week after week
That's
So
your
the
logic,
teams below
Shu.
them-
You said that you usually use your predictions based on it.
Can we get like a clip of every video where Dawson said, "I believe that this team will beat every team below them"?
I use that as a spectrum.
Because it happens.
I use it as like a general
Then why-
idea.
Then
Because
why are the Patriots there? They've lost to the Raiders. They got blown out by the Saints.
Because the
Those
Patriots
teams should be
defense
above
doesn't
them.
suck. The Patriots defense doesn't suck, and their
Yes.
offense actually breathed some life last
Yes.
game. They didn't get blown out like you're some fucking jumpers. Y'all just get on some bandwagons.
Against the Raiders, though.
Yes,
I'm
against
a
the
Patriots
Raiders.
fan, and I admit we suck.
We have the Giants below 24 after they've gone 1-5. That is not a jump. That is doing the right thing.
How do y'all not understand that teams around them suck too? Like that's the crazy part about this is that if you look at these
We're not
games,
saying that. We're just saying they suck worse than the teams around them.
Yeah.
so you're gonna say that they don't deserve to? They deserve to go lower when they competed against one of the best teams last week. And you can say the Bills sucked all they want, but the Giants had that game fucking won, arguably. Saquon
Yeah, I
looked
would
great.
still say that everyone can pull out a win now and then. I mean, look at the Cardinals, the Bears, the Broncos. But that doesn't mean just because they beat a team that they're a good team now.
But they looked good.
Or because
didn't
they
just-
almost beat a team, they're a good team now.
They actually
The
didn't look
Giants only
trash.
win. The Giants only win is came against the Cardinals, who's 30.
Correct.
Like, I mean, the Broncos only win came against Chicago, but Broncos are 31. Why is another 1-5 team that beat a bottom 3 team in ranked number 17?
Then I never want to hear y'all talk about the Bengals ever again. I don't want to hear y'all talk about the Bengals being a good team. I don't want you talking about the Texans being a good team because Texans arguably should be now 24 based on that logic or something like that. If you want standings, go look at a fucking standings board.
I'm not saying standings. I'm just saying that at some point, I just feel like every team in this has a different outline. Like you judge one team based on this, one team based on that. Like I feel like there should be some consistency in there.
I definitely am the most consistent person with my power rankings. I am
This
more
is-
consistent than y'all.
This is not consistent with the if you want standings, look at that logic. You have a 1-5 team at 17. That is you don't have to put them at 32, but they shouldn't be at 17. They're 1-5. Standings or power rankings, regardless. That's just not it.
Expectations for the team because we've seen. Say what you will about their schedule last year. The Giants were a top 10 team last year going into the playoffs. They looked good. They were consistently getting stuff. They even won their first wild card game. I forgot against who it was. They looked good, so they had high expectations. Their coaching staff is still good. It's just they also have been plagued by injuries recently too. Now, if you looked at their injury reports, besides the
Well, I feel like, and you were talking about how, it's expectations. If they're not living up to that expectations, they should drop further. They should be punished for not living up to said expectations.
I will say this is also partially that you guys are coming back to not seeing. You're seeing only 1 week of my logic here. Like the Giants, I don't know what the Giants were 2 weeks ago, and I can't. Shu knows all this context. And Shu fully agreed.
I'll tell you that.
Shu, I don't want you hopping on my ass because you were fully in agreement with me last week, pretty much. Like we were almost neck and neck. Patriots is the only thing you can disagree with. Whatever.
And that's the only one I'm disagreeing with you now on is the Patriots. I don't care about the rest of it. I just want to see the Patriots in the 4 column because I don't think they're a 3rd column team. That's the only disagreement I've had the last 2 weeks.
I still think.
Besides, now I'm saying the Saints should be up a little bit because if the Patriots are in the 4th column, the Saints are going to be in the 3rd.
But you can't use the logic. See, that you're just using the logic that the Saints beat the Patriots. They beat the snot out of them. Now they should be above them. Like.
No, I'm using the logic of the Patriots are 1-5 and haven't had a good showing against pretty much any team all year. They beat the
Giants, blown out by the Cowboys week 1. Barely beat the Cardinals week 2. Blown out by the 49ers week 3. Blown out by the Seahawks week 4. A 3-score game against the Dolphins week 5. And they barely lost to the Bills. I would argue it was a bad call, but still, the Bills had a bad game. Like, at what point can you say this team just can't contend with an average team, even though you have them set as middle of the pack?
Okay.
Which I would argue is average. I would say above average. You have them set at an above average spot right now
I think that's still
for a
kind of accurate.
subpar team.
I still think it's fairly accurate. Again, they got blown out by the Cowboys. They dropped 5 spots that week. They barely beat the Cardinals. I can't punish them for a win, so they probably didn't. They probably went up one, honestly, with teams sucking around them. Then they lost to the 49ers. Everyone fucking has except for the Browns. Congratulations. Wow. I mean, don't judge me on that week. Seahawks, yes, they dropped like a couple spots, but also the teams around them sucked that week too. How can I punish them even more than teams that sucked around them? The Packers had a bad week from what I remember. Jets had
But
a
we're not
horrible
in
week.
that week.
But
We're in this brand new week.
I'm not just changing it based on the week. Like, oh, the Browns won, so obviously they're number 1 right now because they beat the fucking best team. That's not how I do things. I do it gradually. You guys motherfuckers know this. I'm consistent.
And New York gradually goes up for a loss.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think anybody is saying put the Browns at number 1. I think we're saying put the Giants below 24.
Yeah.
I just want to hear how the Patriots have a good defense at this point in the year.
The defensive line actually still looks good. I don't know if you haven't been watching football, so I don't want to hear your opinion on the Patriots.
I watched the last Patriots game, and guess what? On the entire starting defense, you know how many interceptions they had in a Patriots uniform all year?
You can't just judge it by interceptions. You can't just judge them by how many picks they get. You gotta judge them by the
How many
yardage.
sacks do the Patriots have all year?
All right, that's it. I'm about to pull it up. Hold up.
How many sacks do the Patriots have all year?
I don't remember on top of my head. The shoe. Hold up. I'm about to put
Not many.
defensive rankings up here. Defense rankings, because I just did a video on this all. Actually, more than you think. By the way, shoe. Just want to say that. The Giants are at 17 because every team around them's also mid. You can't. So Giants had were in the higher rankings because they showed that they were a decent team last year. The Steelers were a mid team and dropped off really badly because Kenny Pickett sucked. I mean, if you look at the teams around them, it's not like I'm praising them. Jesus, I don't think if you still were here last week, I don't think anybody below a 15 is a real team this year. Pretty much, I think all those teams kind of suck this year. Commanders, given the week, they can either be really good or really bad. The Patriots have consistently been bad, yeah, which means they've dropped consistently, but the teams around them haven't done well either. Falcons had a good start, but now have lost after loss after loss. Raiders were one of the worst teams last year, and yeah, they've won a couple games, but they haven't had very good showings. I can't just raise them up all the way. Looking at the Saints are kind of the same thing as the Falcons, except maybe a little bit worse. The Rams are the highest risers, and I've been giving them their flowers, but they're also not consistently winning. They look good on offense, but that's about it. And so they have a really good offense. Then you look at the fucking Steelers. I mean, the Steelers just came off a bye week, so I mean, I didn't put the Giants below them. I'll give you that. I mean, I guess I could have put them below the Giants.
Well, I just don't think the Giants should be ahead of the Steelers, the Packers, the Rams, or the Commanders, Redskins.
The Jets have the same record and beat the Eagles.
Okay, so the Patriots have 12 sacks all year, right?
Yes.
33% of it has come from a player who's out for the year. He's done.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. If a defensive player who is the star of your defense, actually the 2 stars of your defense, go down with injury, how do you say they still have a good defense?
Because you can't judge them based on something they haven't performed. Like the Jets, I didn't judge them when Aaron Rodgers went down because if you judge them before a team's even if you judge the Aaron Rodgers situation before we can even see them recover, then you're just fucking digging their grave. Like, okay, 49ers lost Chris McCaffrey and Tebow.
Stick the headstone in.
Like, y'all's logic makes no fucking sense. Hold up, sorry. Let me say it like
this. The 49ers have pieces around, though. The Patriots don't have the pieces.
Yes, they have they probably have one of the best depths.
They're the most injured team in the NFL right now. They're the most injured team.
False. Ravens are.
Second? Third?
They're about third.
So, Patriots are second.
They're not the most
injured. And they're all star players.
There, but...
They're all starters. They're all...
I'm just pointing out the fact that he said before Aaron Rodgers comes back. There's not a guarantee that he comes back.
Not comes back. I said went down. Like, I'm not going to judge them based on
the first drive of the game.
I'm not going to judge a team based on, okay, they won against the Buffalo Bills and they lost Aaron Rodgers. Okay, well, I mean, they suck now because they don't have Aaron Rodgers. We don't know that. We don't know if they suck. We didn't see Zach Wilson, but like Zach Wilson got thrown into a game you can't really judge him too harshly on, and it still won. Their ante didn't look great, but they won against a good team. Yeah, but then their defense carried them to 3 straight wins or something like that. Or just make 2 last wins. I don't know. Something like that.
And the Patriots' entire team has carried them to 4 straight losses.
Okay, you gotta help me defend one team at a time. You're gonna make me jump in between and make me mess up my arguments. Which I think all these teams, yeah, sure, you could drop the Patriots lower. Whatever. I'm not too passionate about that. Drop it to 25, whatever. Go fuck yourself, but you know what I mean? That facts. Giants are not a fucking they're like top 20. I'll give you a 20 spot for them right now. I'm willing to put them
They're
below the
not a top
Steelers,
team.
Packers, and Rams, but I'm not putting them below the Washington Commanders, and I'm not putting them below the Patriots, Falcons, Raiders, Saints, Titans. Not putting them below any of those teams right now. 100% not. I'll give you the Rams. I'll give you the Rams, Packers, and Steelers. I'll give you that. 100%, but not
The
out of top.
Commanders have played a game where you can look at them and say, "Wow, look good." The Giants have not done that.
I agree.
Not even the Buffalo
Last game?
That was
Does
a
no one
wow,
watch?
Buffalo
Does no one?
Last game they didn't look good. They scored 9 points.
Yes, but they had a great fucking run game against a Bills' good defense on the
A
run.
run game that scored 9 points.
It still
3
won.
field goals.
They went up one. It's not like I'm praising
They
them.
didn't win.
Jesus.
They didn't win. You're
Both
exactly
both
praising
teams
them
were
when you
tired.
raise them up.
They flew to England.
Because they played it.
Neither team looked good last week.
Okay. I'm not making weekly power rankings in terms of, oh, this week, this is the top 10 teams. This is how good the teams looked. No, I'm making this as a gradual fucking progression.
And
The
they
progression
should
of
have
the Giants should have
progressively
progressed down
moved
every week.
further down than they did.
If you want them to see,
They moved up.
if you want to see their power rankings go down, go look at standings. Yeah, that's where their losses take place. Okay, I'll drop the
Well,
Vikings out of there.
every power ranking that I've looked at right now has the Giants at around 28 or 29.
Good for them. They're not me.
I would say right now, if you're not judging a team based off of injury, then I would say the
You're not
Colts are
judging
even
them.
above New
The
York.
Colts are not
currently.
above right now.
I would think
They
I think the
at
Colts
least
would.
good in one game.
Because the Giants have had a harder schedule too. You're not actually taking everything into effect. See, when I look at these games, I look at their stats, I look at who they're played, I look at their home versus away. I move them based on like I have like little on the tier list. I have like
Yeah,
little
but-
gaps in between. So I'm like, did they drop that many gaps?
They have had a hard schedule. I'll agree, and 3 of their losses have came to hard teams, but 2 of their losses have not.
It's just mind boggles me.
Their win came against a crappy team, and it was not a pretty win.
No, it was not. You're right. You're right.
And mind you, 2 of those losses against the hard teams were not losses that an NFL team should face. You should not be losing 40
to nothing.
But you're acting like the teams
Yes.
around them are any better.
They
They're
are.
not. No, they're
They
not.
exactly are.
Now 18 through 20, I'll give you that 100%. I'll give you 18 through 20. I won't even argue those 3 teams. I'm not saying the Commanders, Falcons, Raiders, Saints, or any of those teams ain't better than them. I'm especially not arguing for Texans and below.
So then why not drop New York to
Any
21?
team outside of the Patriots, all the way down to 28, I am not putting my money on the Giants for any circumstances because they suck.
I think the
not
Giants
doing
consistently can play better than the Texans. I think they can play better than the Panthers. I think they can play better than the Colts. I think they can play better than the
Why
Cardinals
haven't
and Bears.
I don't think they could play better than the Texans.
I think they could.
Haven't.
I think they'd get beat.
Because
Everyone pissed beat out of by the Texans.
You're thinking the Giants have faced. Look at their division. They faced off against good teams and at least put up something. Versus some of these teams who get
They
blown
didn't
the
put up
fuck out.
anything against the Cowboys.
Okay, we're gonna look at. Okay,
Yeah,
well
they
you're
have
not
to
understanding. You're not understanding something very crucial. The teams around them are not doing good week to week. You can say what you want about
But
their
are the
starts.
Okay, but are the Giants doing better week to week?
Not necessarily, but they're not really moving. They've stayed the same place
There we
area.
go.
They
There
stayed the
we
same
go.
fucking area. Why are y'all not understanding
See,
this?
This is the problem: is that you're evaluating these teams on tiers, and you're baking this thing in your head where you're saying, "Oh, well, they need this existential feat to push them up a tier."
No.
It's 32 teams, not tiers. These are teams, and they can move fluidly between 2 spots. Just because Panthers are at 28 doesn't mean it should be any harder for them at all to move up to 27 because it's a different tier.
If I do that by that logic, theoretically, 19 through 27 could all lose, and Panthers could win, and now automatically go from 28 to top 20. That's not fucking possible. That's
No,
stupid. That is
that's
stupid.
That's
not
not
That's a
what he's
stupid
saying.
ranking.
That's not what he's saying.
And making that way out of
You say these are
The red
32
herring,
teams.
Dawson.
You said these are 32 teams that can move up gradually anytime. Boom, boom, boom. Right? There's no gaps in
move
between.
them.
So you're saying there's no gaps in between 20, like the bottom 27 and like the top 20, right? You know,
It's the NFL. Any team can win at any time, but the chances of the Giants beating those teams are slim.
Giants.
I don't think so.
Almost anybody.
The
is
Giants,
slim
the,
at this point.
at this point, I would be confident in the Giants beating two teams, and that's the Broncos and the Bears.
Okay. What's
And I think those would be close games.
okay? For one, by the way, I just want to note that Shu agrees with my list for the most part, so I just want to say that out that loud.
Who?
Shu.
Well,
Okay.
Shu's stupid too.
Okay. Well, okay. Here's what I'm going to do for y'all.
I
Yeah.
stopped watching all the football. The only games I watch are the Patriots, so that's the only
Shu's
team I
catching crossbar, and he's not even saying anything.
Okay. The Giants again repeating Trayton's thing. They lost to the Cowboys, the Cardinals, or they've won against Cardinals, whatever. They've lost to the 49ers, Seahawks, Dolphins, and Bills. According to me, those are all top 12 teams. They've faced against top 12 teams, and yeah, they've gotten their butt kicked. But also, the teams around them are getting their butt kicked by teams that are 20 through 30. Like, give me a team. Give me a team you think should be higher. Just a random team that you think, oh, they need to be Raiders. Steelers. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna argue for against the Steelers too much because I think they're a better team than they show, but they haven't shown it. So I'm just gonna.
Well, the Giants are showing that they're shit, but you're putting them in the possibility category, the possible playoff.
Correct.
What I see through 20 to 14 is fighting for the playoffs. The Giants aren't fighting for the playoffs; they're fighting for the number one seed, or they're fighting for the number one draft pick.
So
right now.
last year, would you have said the Bucks going to the playoffs or a top 14 team? Because you better be very careful with your answer.
No, I wouldn't have.
Okay, then the Giants don't. That's not criteria. The top 20 teams don't have to be, playoff contenders. 'Cause by your
I
logic,
would put them in the top 20.
Yeah, but
I
said
said
top
the
14.
top 20 teams are teams that are fighting for the playoffs.
That they're fighting for the playoffs. Top 14 by theoretics would be top.
The Giants aren't fighting for the playoffs.
No team's out of the running anyway. By the way, I want to say that clear.
But the Giants are damn close.
Okay,
They might as well be dead already.
Let's look at the Raiders.
3 more weeks and they will be out.
Might as well go ahead and sign Caleb Williams to a contract.
Let's look at the Raiders. The Raiders are a team that y'all said that should be a little bit higher, right?
I don't know about that.
Raiders.
Find consistency. Okay, who? Name me somebody who should be higher than the Giants by a decent margin besides 18 through 20. No, 18 through 20. Again, I'm not touching 18 through 20. I agree with you for the most part there.
The Texans.
There you go, Texans. All right.
Houston.
Texans games. Okay. Week one. Let's see. They beat the Steelers by quite. Nope, that was the Ravens. They got destroyed by the Ravens. Good team, so I'm not going to judge them too harshly, but they deserve to stay low. Got beat by the Colts by a decent margin. Divisional rival, so maybe I shouldn't judge them too harshly, but it was by a decent margin. Bad team. Beat the Jaguars, gave them their flowers, but we all agreed that maybe it was
the best team in that division.
But you also agreed that week that that was kind of a fluky game, so I want to keep that noted too. The Steelers, they beat the Steelers. I gave them quite a bit of a bump up there. Then they barely lost to the Falcons and barely beat the Saints, which are mid teams at best, and they can't move out of that category. So,
I think they should. The Texans at least have proved they can win.
I don't think that puts them above a team that started at 8th place, though.
It doesn't matter what they started.
I don't think it matters.
It does matter where they started.
I think all teams.
They suck through 6 weeks of football. They are one of the worst teams in the league. I don't care how they did last year. I'm sorry. They suck.
I agree.
No higher than 28.
Yeah, and I'm not going to stand on the hill saying that Giants are going to make the playoffs or anything. I'm saying the Giants are. We've talked about the Giants so much this.
But you have them in that fighting for playoff.
Because they haven't just. There hasn't been a game where it just made me give up hope on them yet. Like fully, I mean. Like obviously, again, I want to repeat this because
losing 40-0, being shut out in a modern NFL game. That's hard to do, and by God, they did it.
I just want you. See, it seems like y'all judge middle tier teams way too harshly than y'all actually should. 100%.
Well, I think middle tier teams should be the ones that move the most.
I don't think so. I think middle tier teams can move within that and then prove whether they should go bottom tier or top tier. A good example of that is the
Panthers. You're putting them into tiers, but it's a fluidity thing.
No, it's
every team.
Okay. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second because I'm going to see if I can find what I use here because it's going to make me mad.
Middle tier team too. They're not that. They're just trash.
You're going to make me mad at this because you're not understanding the logic here.
I
If
got
the
it. The
Gi-
Giants
point
are
out
here,
that
and the Titans are playoff bound.
out of the top 14 teams in your standings and the actual teams that if the playoffs started right now, there's only 2 teams out of the entire thing that are not equal.
that are not
So
what?
this right here is the tier list I made this week. You know why I make tier lists? Is because this team right here is way better. Is like has a good gap between.
You
these
think
two
the
teams.
Giants are potential wild cards?
No, okay, no. Ignore the categories. This I just didn't change the categories. Don't like I didn't use that as criteria. Like I didn't. Don't look at this because I didn't use these.
What's the criteria?
That's what I'm saying.
Motherfuckers, I
This is
didn't
actually being put in tiers.
because I have to use something to gauge, Ben. If you know, how about you try to make this week to week? Shu even said that was really hard week to week.
It was.
Okay, looking at
That's
this,
why I gave up.
ignore these. Ignore the fucking categories. I don't use those. I just use them as tiers to show me like where I'm at in my mindset. The 49ers, there's a gap between them and the Eagles. Go fuck yourself if you think there is. If there isn't. The Lions and Chargers, decent gap between them. Not like a big gap, but like I gotta show that there's gaps in between these teams. I can't just say the 49ers are number 1 compared to the Bucks who are 14. That way, because using the logic of the 49ers could easily drop down to 14 at any point. Because now there's a decent gap. So they have to lose a couple times to get to the Bucks because the 49ers have proved themselves. Yes, you're right. The Giants haven't proved themselves. You're right. They were up here at one point. They're like somewhere around here, I think. So I don't know. I can't remember exactly. Maybe week 1 they were even up here. It probably was a little. I don't remember. I don't remember at all. But the Giants have got a loss and they've dropped categories and dropped categories. But they've also won. I forgot even where I put them. They're right here. They dropped 3
They won
categories.
week 2.
They literally like keep on dropping and dropping and dropping. But the teams around them also suck. Again, Bucks and up, they don't really change much except for like between categories. Vikings.
But at what point? Okay, Dawson, I understand what you're saying, but at what point? How many more losses is it going to take before you realize, damn, these guys are real ass?
They are kind of ass. I literally said last week, 15 through. All these teams are ass. 15 through 20, the first 15 through 32 are all kind of ass. I don't see any of those teams even. The Rams
But
are
at
the only
least they
ones.
proved they could win.
They proved they can win against other shitty teams. Yes, congratulations, Trathan. Congratulations. The Texans can win against shitty teams.
The Giants haven't even proved that.
You're
they
right.
Barely beat the Cardinals.
But they proved it last year. They were a good team walking into this year.
But that's last year. They're a completely different team.
So you're saying no? You can't say that they're a completely different team. They literally have most of the same players.
Every year, a team is completely different.
I disagree completely on that.
From coaching to players to scheme calling.
Okay,
to
so
schedule,
Chiefs are completely
everything is
different.
completely different.
Chiefs are completely different.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'll put
I
the Chiefs
think
down here. That
I
makes
think
sense.
last year's Chiefs team would blow this year's Chiefs team out of the water.
I'd agree with that. Maybe. I don't think I'd agree. I don't think blown out of the water. But anyway.
I do not agree with that. Their defense is way better this year.
But their offense is terrible.
Holmes and Kelsey always make it work.
It's the Mahomes and Kelsey show. A little bit of Pachinko. That's about it.
Pacheco is a 10 fantasy running back right now.
I know that's what I'm about.
That does hold some merit as to the impact he's holding on the game.
Oh yeah, no, he does good, but it's because he doesn't just run the ball. He can get out there and do a good job receiving too, and he's doing better than Mahomes' receivers.
Also have one of the best O-lines.
That's true.
I mean, it's really just the receiving room whenever you're looking
Exactly.
at it.
It's like Tennessee right now. Now, granted, Tennessee doesn't obviously have Joe Milton at quarterback, or doesn't have Patrick Mahomes and Joe Milton, but their receiving room, like their defense, won them the A&M game last week. That's how I feel it like it is for the Chiefs. Is they can't find any consistency in the passing game because like 1 week they'll have like a good passing game, and now granted they are still 5-1. But just the consistency is lacking as far as their offensive production goes.
I mean, the defense, though, has come in and...
The defense is very good.
On corner now, and their D-line has developed a whole lot. Super good. I mean, I think the Chiefs team this year beats the one from last year.
Really?
Again, that defense is studly. And once again, at that point, you're looking at their defense from last year. really need is Mahomes and Kelsey and Pacheco, and they're going to score on them at will.
But they can't score on teams at will this year. So what makes you think it's going to change?
Because they scored on the Bears at will. Last year was just a couple notches up from the Bears, so I could assume up at least 30.
I think this year's Chiefs team. I mean, I think they're still top five. I don't think they make it past the AFC Championship.
I don't know that they'll do that. But I like this team right now better than the one last year for sure.
Honestly, I think it.
Got some teams in the NFC that are.
I think it
better
would take.
than last year.
I think it would take. I want to see a Miami. Do the Miami and the Chiefs play this year? I don't think they do.
I don't.
But that would be a true test for the Chiefs. Now there's other tests. The Lions gave them a struggle, but now the Lions have been hit by the injury bug.
They do. They play
the
in
Bills,
2 weeks from
their
now.
offense. They do play?
Yep, Chiefs, Dolphins. Actually, it's Chiefs,
Oh,
Dolphins,
heck
Chiefs,
yeah.
Eagles.
That'll be a fantastic game.
Chiefs,
and I
Dolphins,
think the
Chiefs,
Dolphins
Eagles,
win that.
back to back. I don't think the Dolphins will. Yeah. The Dolphins are kind of almost a one-dimensional team. I mean, the Bills kind of showed them up a little bit. They showed some true colors. I still think they're a top 5 team, don't get me wrong, but they got to find consistency on defense as well against good offenses.
But I think as the year goes on, the Dolphins defense will get better because they'll be getting injuries back. And, they'll develop.
I'm curious how Jalen Ramsey, how it affects that
He'll
team.
be back. What, week 11?
I thought it was like week 10, but yeah, it could be week 11. Week 11, week 12, maybe. Well. So, just to kind of put it back to speed here, aside from Trayton and Ben's Giants and Texans, sure. I mean, y'all are kind of argued for them too. And Shoes Patriots. What are some other thoughts on the third category? I've talked about a lot of these teams already, so I'm not really going to talk about
No. I think the rest of the board doesn't look bad. Maybe you could drop the Vikings a spot. And maybe drop the Chargers back a spot or two. Maybe 3 even. But other than my gripe with the Texans, the Patriots, and the Giants, I think the rest of it is a pretty decent.
Fair enough. And like I said, I do think there's a gap between 21 and 20 because I just think that there's just naturally again, say what you will about the Giants. The Steelers, Packers, and Rams have a lot of potential. They've been just not very consistent with it, while the Commanders and below have shown less potential with all that. So, going in top 16 teams, I've moved the Jets up because, I didn't move the Jets up, but like they stayed the same because a lot of teams, or one team went below. No, actually, no team went below them. Never mind, they just stayed the same because every team around them. They beat the Eagles, but it was a less impressive win than the Browns beating the 49ers, in my opinion, from watching the game and seeing the stats. But they deserve to be in the conversation at top 16. When you beat a good team like that, you got to at least give them some acknowledgement. The Vikings are kind of the iffy team. I'm putting the Browns and through Jets right now are in the weird zone. I made a new area for them, saying I don't know what these teams can turn out to be because the Vikings sometimes show really good games even without Justin Jefferson. They've looked fine, less so on offense, but their defense has stepped up. And the Browns, even without Deshaun Watson, at least show the defense can carry them. Same kind of with Jets without Aaron Rodgers. The defense is kind of carrying them a lot. So their teams,
even with the practice squad DBs.
Yeah, kind of.
That honestly surprised me that you have, what was it, top 4 DBs or 4 of your consistent players, your DBs out, and you still managed to have Jalen Hurts, who I'd argue is one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, throw 3 interceptions against you. So I think that's pretty impressive.
I agree. I would agree with that. And those 3 teams have really big potential. And if you want to talk about potential fighting for the playoffs, the top 6 teams to me are. And you can throw Texans in there depending on how the Jags do, I guess. But I don't see them getting a wild card. I don't see who's another good example. Steelers and Packers are kind of in that same area, but the Lions are kind of running away with their division. I don't see the Packers getting their own wild card. Steelers. their division's just really tough with the Bengals on uprising again and the Ravens looking as good as they do.
Thank
And the
God.
Browns. I mean, the Steelers are the worst in their division at 18. That's kind of crazy. So take that as you
That's
will.
all. Like I knew that was going to be one of the best divisions
They do look really good.
in the league this year. I thought that the NFC East would be better. As far as the Giants go, I think to be considered one of the best divisions in the league, you got to have 3 teams pretty high.
Mhm.
You can't have like 2 teams, 22 and 28 or whatever. But I definitely still think the AFC North is probably the best division right now. As long as the Bengals keep rising up, as long as Burrow keeps nursing that calf injury. And I was watching, Kurt, I think it's Ben-Hart.
Ben Hurt,
He
yeah.
used to be an NFL quarterback,
Kurt.
and he was dissecting like how Burrow's injury is affecting his decision making.
Mhm.
And I think that's as soon as Burrow is ready and can scramble again. Not that he's a big scrambler, but that he has that option. It'll make him stop throwing stupid passes.
I'd 100% agree with you there, especially with the receiving core kind of now up to strength, it seems like, again, because T. Higgins played, so he looks a little bit better. So, no, I'd agree with you. I think the Bengals, again, they kind of hurt themselves in the first 4 weeks, so they still have a lot to prove to get them back in that conversation, but it's really promising. It is really promising, so I'd agree with you there. In terms of the top 10 teams, they really all didn't change. All of them made, like, again, the 49ers can't. I feel like the 49ers are now human, is to me. I just feel like they showed that they can be beat. But, again, all the teams around them really didn't move up any. So they just kind of moved down, if that makes sense, in my mind. So Eagles lost. Bills didn't look good and win. Kansas City hasn't really played a really good team recently to move them up to justify it. Dolphins won by a large margin. Almost feel like I should move them up, but, I mean, it's against the Panthers, so I kind of logic to keep them the same. Ravens, they kind of the same logic there. Cowboys kind of beat the Chargers, which was kind of impressive, but neither team. The Cowboys looked worse in winning than the Chargers looked worse in losing, if that makes sense. I think Chargers looked better in defeat than the Cowboys looked winning in a way. So that's why I kind of logic not moving them. The Lions honestly should be on the rise more. I wish I could. I almost put them above the Jags because 5-1's impressive, and they've been kicking the snot out of teams. But I think that. I guess the comparable wins are the Jags beat the Bills and the Lions beat the Chiefs, and ultimately I still lean Jags that look a little bit better against better teams than Lions have. And outside of that,
They played with their opponents.
Exactly, and sometimes it bites them in the ass too.
The record does not matter. Remember.
It does obviously matter to some extent. To some extent, you got to consider the wins and losses.
Clearly not.
I'm gonna leave this channel. Trayton's yours.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna be taking over the StraightA channel today.
Otherwise, yeah, Seahawks and Bucks kind of didn't move too much. I mean, they've looked good, but I mean, just not as good this week with their losses. So that is the power rankings, and I will say before we leave it all off, I got one more final note for the conversation, the topic of the day, and I already know what this title is gonna be. Dawson's put the Giants where? I do think it hurts that you two didn't see my logic throughout the weeks. I will say that. I definitely can see where if you jump back into this power rankings all of a sudden, especially if somebody's clicking on this video for the first time, seeing me put the Giants at 17, I do think it's still justifiable to some extent. Again, I could see 20. Like, I can be negotiated 20 pretty easily. I just don't see with the level of play the teams 21 to 25 or 21 to 32 have done that the Giants have fell off that hard from my original expectations of them. I think it's kind of almost like the Broncos last year. Broncos last year were like almost a top 15 team for me, and they consistently dropped off. But I don't think I put them in that final tier, that bad tier, until like near halfway point for me. Actually, I'm kind of curious. I did make power rankings last year, so I'm kind of curious when I put the Broncos in like that last tier. But I can see where it's more jolting to see the Giants at 17. Even though I think my logic's good, I can see where there's some drastic changes that may need to be made. And this probably will be one of the blemishes I have. But also remember, one of the big wins I had was all of y'all said the Buccaneers would suck, and the Buccaneers are still around the spot they started at. So I'm gonna take my wins and my losses. So, I mean,
not to give any props to Dawson or anything, or but
Not
I
to
do have I do have the Giants winning this week.
I only want them to win because I made a bet in week 2 that the Commanders would end up 3-5.
after week 2,
And
After
I'm
week 2.
really wanting that to cash out.
after week 6, after week 7, after week 8, after week 9, after week 10, the Broncos finally entered like the D tier, so like bottom 5 teams basically, in week 10.
Well, I think if the Giants lose to the Commanders, the Giants should not be in the top 24.
I will assure you that as long as it's not a big stat pad game, if the Commanders win, the Commanders likely jump in that 20 tier, top 20 tier to me, and the Giants will likely fall below, depending on how the Packers and Steelers and Rams do. I do base it off that. I could assure you that the Giants are currently falling right now, even though they rose above 1. I guess that does hurt my logic there.
Yeah.
Honestly, looking at it now, I probably shouldn't have put them above the Steelers, considering that the Steelers were on a bye week, especially. But I definitely couldn't have put them below the Packers, I don't think. I don't know. I could see
Didn't
it.
you say the Ravens were the most injured team?
The depth-wise, they are the most injured team.
Who?
The
Okay.
Ravens.
Are we considered injured like they missed 1 week? Or like they're done for an
IRs are
extended
outs.
period?
IRs, outs, and doubtfuls. I consider.
The Titans have been it over the past 3 years.
I would say because IRs, they only have 7.
Only 7. That's a
Only 7.
The Patriots have 10, the Jets have 11, the Cardinals have 11, the Colts have 11.
Okay.
Which
Cool.
means that's
Cool.
half a starting lineup.
Sorry, the Ravens have better teams or better players, so I just didn't register that.
Well, of course they do.
Well, I guess that's
That's why they're okay.
I
That's
know.
why they have won games and the Patriots have won 1 against the Jets all year.
Most of the injuries, though, it's only Christian Gonzalez. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? That's like IR.
Judon done.
Oh,
Raekwon McMillan done. Hasn't
okay.
played in 2 years,
Judon was a good
but
one.
he's coming back
but
next year.
Judon was a good
I
one.
mean, but McMillan would add to a Patriots defense. He's not playing.
See, I just don't see, and I'm getting on a tangent again. I don't see those players being as big of a gap between their backups as Judon and Christian Gonzalez, which are valid ones.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, any other final thoughts here today for our heated NFL power rankings? No. Ben's looking at me like he's about to fucking kill me. He's done with me today. Thank you guys for watching. I may or may not be running this channel next week. Who knows? After the consensus comes back.
boys. It's time to stage a revolution.
But
We are holding revolt. We are.
guys, you're forgetting. I have to make controversial statements on here so we can get popularity. That's the key to
No,
it.
you don't. No, you don't.
But thank you guys for watching. Tell me what you disagree with. If you want to leave a comment down below.
You should definitely disagree with the Giants.
Specifically the Giants and the Patriots. Specifically.
Maybe throw the Texans in there too.
I think of those 3 teams, the Texans are the one I'm least likely to move. Like in terms of I'm less likely to agree with you than the other 2 teams. But whatever. Beside the point. I'm StraightA Dawson, and we're out.